Welcome to TOUSSI Talks. I'm your host, TOUSSI, and in this week's episode, I sat down with Simon Bourne, founder of the hand-dyed shoe company and also known as The Shoe Guy. If you haven't seen his work, go to www.handdyedshoeco.com, that's D-Y-E-D, and check it out, or @Hand-Dyed Shoe Co. on Instagram. The entire episode was much less about the shoe business and more about the struggles and triumphs of a willing entrepreneur who took scraps and turned it into a successful shoe business, while battling personal barriers, and raising a family. I commend Simon for making himself so vulnerable and open to illustrate that triumphs can be made over any type of hardship. I really do hope that you enjoy this episode, and thank you again for tuning in. This broadcast is brought to you in part by bitcoinbasics.org, helping you get started with Bitcoin.
How are you?
Live. I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Really happy to have you on, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love your hat.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love your style.
There's a place in the UK called Yorkshire, which is like a county, and it's very famous for its flat caps and this kind of English country mentality. And
really?
Perfect. You should. So if ever you come to England, you'll be very at home in Yorkshire.
That's excellent. I aim to be, Simon.
Good man. Good man.
I really appreciate you taking the time on this Monday morning to meet up with me. I've been a fan of your style, your shoes, your cause for quite some time now. Believe you me, I've not bought any new pair of shoes because the next one is coming from you.
Well, I'm very flattered, and I'm just turning my mute on my phone.
No problem.
I'm very, very flattered, and LinkedIn has been an incredible route to market, if that's the right phrase, if you like, but more so like brand building and an opportunity just to kind of talk about how I feel and how the business, how that reflects in the business, and yeah, I'm sure it's always amazing to hear people's responses, and I certainly don't take it for granted, Arash. It's very grateful, very grateful.
That's amazing. I love that. What got you? Tell us about the shoe business. What got you started in it in the first place?
Well, it's a funny story because my shoe business started, believe it or not, in furniture. So I worked for a local guy to where I live now. And we made handmade pieces of furniture, and they were incredible sort of pieces of art, really, because what we were doing was upholstering a sofa or a couch or a settee, depending on where you come from, in what's called raw russet leather, which is a raw aniline leather. So it's got no colour to it, no pigment, and it's very, very porous. So it's cow skin, and like any skin, it's got lots of little holes in it. And what we would do is mix a dye and quite literally paint the sofa whatever colour a customer had chosen. And the business was born from really offcuts from this industry. So from this company that I was working for. So obviously, as you were making a piece of furniture out of, let me get you some leather.
Yeah.
Out of this stuff here.
Right.
We would end up with an offcut about this sort of size. And my part of my duty every day, it was a small business, was at the end of the day to whiz around and mop up, tidy up any excess leather that was sitting on the floor, and chuck it in the bin. And I don't know why. I mean, I'd worked there for 2 years, but one day I just sort of questioned it and said, well, why are we throwing all of this leather in the bin? It's perfectly serviceable for something. Yes, not a piece of furniture, but we could use it for something else. Now, I approached my boss and I said, well, listen, why don't we start making, something else, out of this leather? Now, bearing in mind, he was making good money on very, very nice pieces of furniture. Some little offcuts worth small amounts of money wasn't really attractive to him.
Right.
So I said, well, would you mind if I started to sort of sell it on, just bag it up and just sell it? I said, go for it, So my business started off with little bin bags full of this stuff. going onto eBay, about £20 a bag, and you know, maybe if I sold 3 or 4 bags a week, I was making £60 a week. I was quite happy with that. That was you know, beer money for the weekend. And then I started to sort of consider, well, why are people buying these bags of leather? What are they doing with this? You know, what are they turning it into? And I sort of surmised it would be like belts and wallets and little small little trinkets, buttonholes. And then I thought, well, if I can make 3 wallets out of 1 bag of leather and sell those for £20 each, I make £60 from 1 bag of leather rather than £60 from 3 bags of leather. So all of a sudden, 3 bags of leather turns into £180.
Right.
So this is kind of the entrepreneurial brain sort of starting. I didn't know it at the time, again, like I say. So that's what I started to do, was make little trinkets, if you say, little sort of basic wallets, things like this. You know, nothing really fancy. Cut, and then I would dye it, and then sell it on eBay.
Wow.
And the shoes came from. I did a little rewind. I questioned why we were hand dyeing sofas in the first place. Where did that come from? Where did that idea come from? And the idea actually came from a lady based in London who bought shoes from a company called Berluti. And Berluti, the reason she bought these Berluti shoes was because they were all hand dyed. So they were sort of Italian brand, and they would mix a dye and they would hand paint these shoes. So I was like, here I am. I've got the skill to dye and create a patina like a Berluti shoe on a sofa. Why don't I also make shoes like Berluti? And you know, and that's where it started. So I mean, it took a long time to get to that process, if you like, and it then took a long time to build the business and build the idea and find the infrastructure to be able to actually take it to market. But that's where it came from. It's quite a long story, but yeah, it's been definitely interesting. Furniture, scrap leather, eBay, into creating what I've obviously created now. So yeah, it's been incredible.
That's incredible. That is incredible. It's amazing always to hear the journey of entrepreneurs, where they started, how they started, and I think that's a pretty unique story. Now, it's amazing. Like, you didn't make shoes before, right?
No.
You picked this up basically 5 years ago, is it, Simon?
Yeah, it was 2014 when the idea started. Now, so I established the business 2014, but when I say established the business, I had an idea in 2014. Right. Business really didn't start till 2017, so maybe like 18 months ago when I really started. And that's because, you know, a lot of people will tell you, you know, you can't start a business tomorrow. Like, you know, it takes a long time to put infrastructure place, and infrastructure can be everything from a logo, a website, a supplier, you know, an accountant. It can be all sorts of different avenues. So it's not straightforward. It's just like, oh, I'm going to have this idea. But you know, for me, the business started in 2014 because that's when I had the idea, and that's why I kind of proudly put that in my logo. And there is another little story behind why it's in the logo as well, but maybe come to that later on. Or if we don't get to it, feel free, anybody who's listening, to email and I'll tell you. And so yeah, it's not straight. You know, it took a lot. It was 5 years ago. The actual shoemaking part of it. So how that began. Obviously, I knew I could dye things. I had this leather and I could create a patina on it by mixing a dye and painting it with it. And but I couldn't make shoes. I didn't have that skill. I've never done anything like that before. And there was a guy called John Welsh who lived locally to where I lived, and he was a traditional cobbler, and he could also make shoes. So I went in to see him one day, and I just said, you know, John, I've got this idea. I'd like to learn how to make shoes so that I can dye, you know, out of this leather, so that I can dye them and then hopefully, you know, sell them. And again, at this time, it was still just a hobby. It was a way of making a bit of money for a weekend so that I could go away with the lads, or, you know, take my wife for dinner or something like that. It was all just an idea and a bit of pocket money. So over about 12 weeks, John taught me how to make a very, very basic pair of court shoes, just little boat shoes type thing. And I made them from this leather, and I dyed them. I wore them for a little while, and you know, they didn't last very long, that type of thing. But you know, the point was that the drug was now in me. It was like, okay, now I could make a pair of shoes. It wouldn't be very good quality, but I can make a pair of shoes.
Right.
So what that then taught me was, okay, I now need to find somebody like John who can make a really good quality pair of shoes, which then I could dye and then obviously retail them. So that's how the business evolved. Was then I then did that, but that took a long time because you can't just find a shoemaker like that who's willing to make one pair at a time. Like any workshop or factory or whatever you want to call it wants to make a production line, a minimum order quantity. And for them to get involved in making quality at one at a time is, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for them. So it took nearly 2 years to find the right person, because you'd find somebody and they'd say, yes, we can do it, but we want a minimum order of 50 pairs. So then you commit to that, and then you get them through, and then you turn out that the quality is not as good as what you thought it was, or something like that. Or then you find somebody else and they were perfect to work with and they would make one of one and the quality's great. However, they don't speak English. So how are you going to develop that process or something like that? Because I only speak English. So it was incredible, because there's so many hurdles that I had to jump over just to get to being able to say, okay, now I've got a hobby, never mind a business. Like I've got a hobby that is serviceable, and I can go out there and find some customers, kind of thing. So yeah, that's how it all evolved, that side of things, with the actual shoemaking part of things. Thankfully, like I say, it was April last year, April 2017, when I finally found the exact person and people who I could work with that spoke perfect English. They made perfect quality. They would do one pair at a time for me. They would allow me to express my designs and my styles. They would use my lasts, a last that I created to be able to make those shoes, and then ultimately then I have the exclusivity and the brand really to then take it to market. And all of a sudden it went from hobby to, okay, there's a business here. I've got a business. This isn't just hobby. This is a business and a brand that can enable me to do so much more than just making shoes. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So yeah.
That's beautiful. I love the story. I love the brand. I love what you stand for. Just the idea of it's rustic. It's clean. It's professional. It's grassroots. Like that's the impression that I get. Can you describe what your brand means to you and what it stands for, Simon?
What it means to me, goodness.
Yeah.
My brand Arash has quite literally, and it sounds very sort of cliche and extreme, but it's changed my life. It has absolutely changed my life in so many ways. Because I've had sort of a difficult sort of teenage into 20s sort of transition, and really sort of struggled with sort of identity and like I like to express myself in what I wear and how I dress and my mustache and everything like that. But I always kind of felt like it was for other people. And now I have this business and this brand and this voice and speaking to people like yourself, with the greatest respect to, I've never met in my life, but yet you're interested in what I'm about and what I'm, it's about actually all of a sudden it's made me feel comfortable in my own skin. And like that expressing myself is a good thing, and that actually if I express myself more people get involved with it, and more people start to love it and fall in love with not just the brand but me also. So it's given me a sense of self-worth and self-confidence and an ability to just to go almost like, anybody who doesn't like it, fine, that's fine. I'm all right with that now. And whereas before I would be still trying to like convince them that I'm a good person, despite the fact I want to express, I didn't have this security inside. And what my brand means to me, it's much more. I said it before, answering your other question. It's much more than selling shoes. It's about it's about the lifestyle that it can give me. It's about what I can do for other people. It's about how I can affect your life if you buy my shoes, and not just like, because through profit. It's like every single customer. And I guarantee that if you messaged any one of the 700 customers that I've served in the last year, every single one of them will say, that we had some sort of a relationship. It wasn't just a case of they logged onto the website and bought a pair of shoes. There's interaction, there's friendliness, which is one of my biggest values. I like to be friends with absolutely anybody who wants to be friends with me.
That's wonderful.
It's that's why, like, I reply to every single LinkedIn message. I reply to every single email. I'll answer the phone to everybody from a customer to an Indian call center who wants to sell me some SEO. Like, I'll try, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's, you know, it becomes difficult the busier it gets, but I always, you know, I really do try, and it's one of my biggest values is friendliness and good manners and being courteous, etc. So yeah, it means the world. Absolutely means the world to me, mate.
That's fantastic. We need a lot more of that. What would you say, Simon, is some of the barriers that you face getting into the business and even right now as an entrepreneur?
Getting into business, gosh. Well, listen, like the biggest and most honest story that I can tell you is that when I had this idea of, right, okay, shoes, and I went to see John, and right, it's amazing how this kind of drive and this idea can just consume your mind. And bearing in mind, I'm still working full time at this point, like, you know, in a job, in a good job, and a job where I have responsibilities and I have to be committed to it, and I have to, you know, be constantly. So it's very difficult to kind of juggle everything when you've got this kind of exciting little thing going on here, but you've also got this exciting thing going on here, and you're trying to do both, and you've also got a family to think about here that you're trying to spend time with. So it's incredibly difficult to kind of find that balance, and I still, even now, struggle to quite get that right. But you know, I'm learning, and that's the key to it. But you know, when you've got an idea, and this is your idea and your little baby, and you're trying to nurture it, but there's this big barrier, and that big barrier is money. I haven't got the money to do this. I haven't got the money to go out and spend on 50 pairs of shoes from a workshop. That's, you know, that's our life savings that I'm gonna have to spend to do that. I haven't got the money to open a shop or to quit my job and stop paying my bills and take that risk. I haven't got that money to do that. And so the only way I could get that money was to go to the bank and to get some money from the bank to say, okay, loan me some money. I'm going to put it into this. I'm going to invest it into this idea, and that's bloody scary, that, mate. That is, you know, I'm taking, you know, I'm telling you, it was £12,000 I took from the bank, without much more than I want to make hand-dyed shoes. That's you know, that's what I had. I didn't have a premises. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a marketing strategy. I didn't have a broadband connection. You know, like I didn't have. And then you go, so you get this money and you start piling your idea, and you go, right, okay, I'm rich, I can spend money on stock, and let's design a logo, and let's build a website, and let's create some marketing, and let's start an Instagram, and let's try some Facebook ads, and all of a sudden you go, shit, I've got no money left. I've got none left. I have none left. So the biggest barrier, mate, is absolute fear and anxiety of messing this up, and especially when you've got that family in front of you, whose idea it's not their idea to start this business. It's not my daughter's idea to go to the bank and get £12,000 and put yourself in jeopardy. Right. The biggest barrier is kind of doing that and getting it wrong. And I got it wrong, mate. I really did get it wrong, because I spent £12,000 on, quite frankly, nothing, on absolutely nothing. And I'm still paying it back now. But the point is, you know, for whatever reason, there's something was shining down on us. There was a bit of luck, this big L word, luck. And I feel like I got some luck, because I got a message one day on LinkedIn from a guy who said he could make my shoes for me, having spent £12,000 and having the emotional roller coaster, feeling rock bottom, you know, scared about, shit, I'm going to have to pay £12,000 back. How the hell am I going to do that? I've messed this up. You're thinking about your mortgage, you're thinking about your house and your premises, and I'm going to lose everything I've got. Well, my wife leaves, you know, because I've messed this up. That's what's going through your head.
Of course.
So, and then all of a sudden you get this bit of luck, and I got this breakthrough, and I found a workshop that would create shoes one of one at a time. And like I say, this is April 2017, and all of a sudden the ball's rolling, and there's some money coming in, and I'm paying the money back. And so, like, you know, the biggest barrier was like, just keep believing, you know, keep believing, and, you know, keep doing the right things, and keep communicating, and keep getting out there. And I mean, even to, you know, I accepted doing this because I feel like any opportunity is a good opportunity. Say yes to as much as you can, as much as you know, if it means that you've got to, you know, I don't know if anything will come of this. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. I really don't care. That's not what it's about. It's about saying yes and doing it, because then inside I feel like I'm doing something and I'm achieving something. And then by the end of this, you know, I go and have another meeting and then another meeting and then another meeting. And then all of a sudden you've got lots of eggs in one basket, and all of a sudden, oh, there's a little chicken there. There's a little chicken coming out of one of those eggs. And you know what I mean? That's why, like, that's how I got through it. And I just kept saying yes to everything, even when I was broke and I was broken inside as well. I say yes to things and I go for it. And that's my lesson, and that's my advice to anybody: is keep saying yes. Yes. I'll go to that networking event. Yes, I'll have a little go at that. Or yes, I'll meet you at 10 o'clock on a Friday night when I'm absolutely knackered, but I'm going to try. I'm going to go, because you just don't know what you might get out of it. If nothing else, you get a lesson out of every single meeting or phone call or email or conversation that you ever have. So yeah, keep saying yes, and that's how I got through it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's great advice. I mean, they say yes and figure it out later.
That's it. That's exactly it. And I got that lesson from selling sofas, really. When I used to sell sofas and manufacture these sofas for this small business, it was kind of like, you know, we can't afford to say no. Because if you say no to a customer who wants to spend thousands of pounds on a piece of furniture, then, you know, where does all of a sudden that becomes very difficult to transact money. So, you know, the lesson I always was taught working for this guy was just say yes, and then we'll work it out. You know, if somebody wants a purple spotted, you know, Chesterfield sofa with Scandinavian legs, and, you know, the most monstrous thing that you've ever come up with in your mind, like, if that's what they want, then say yes, and we'll figure out how we're going to do it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the attitude that we had, and I love that attitude, because, you know, if there's one thing I love to do, it's to say yes to a customer. You know, I love to say yes to doing things like this, but I also love to say yes to a customer, and it's kind of it's built everything that I'm about, really. It's you know, customer service wise, and gone from there.
That's wonderful. You know, like, it's funny because I'm sure there are other shoemakers, other places that dye shoes. There's always so much competition, you know. And one of the things that I really believe in, Simon, is that, you know, that competition can be there, but you can succeed within that competition if you just differentiate yourself by providing stellar customer service. You know? That, I think,
you know, so yeah, I'd just like to touch on that, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
I absolutely agree with you, and you know, I think this word service is like such a subjective thing. Okay, so one person will say, I offer the best service in the world. I offer the best. Yeah, you can't get better service from me. Whatever the industry, forget shoes. It could be you know, I'm a hairdresser, and you can come to my hairdressers, and we'll give you a fantastic booking system, which means that you can log in on the website and you can click this button and you can make your appointment so easily. And that is why we offer the best service in the world. But what about those portion of people who just want to speak to somebody and they don't want to use a computer system? So are you offering the best service in the world to those people?
Right.
You know, so it's very subjective. And I wouldn't say I offer better service than anybody else. I would just say I offer the best service for me and for what I believe in. I believe in communication. I love to speak to people. I love to create relationships. I like friendships. I like to get to know people. I want to know why you want to buy my shoes, and that's important to me. Not because I'm nosy, but because, like, I just want to know. Like, I'm just curious, and like, I like people and I like stories. So I would say I offer the best service for what I feel. Other hand-dyed shoe companies will offer the best service for what they feel, and that's absolutely fine. I would agree with them in many ways. Is that, you know, perhaps for what their brand is, and then that is the best service for their brand. My brand is all about you, and, you know, and I want to serve you, and I want to be in your mind and in your outfit, and I want to know what. So yeah, that's why I like your hat.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think that's wonderful. I mean, like, you create a pretty important piece of what would you call it? Clothing, accessory. I mean, men's shoes are everything, right? And
everybody has them.
Everybody has them. Everybody has them. And it's quite amazing how often you are judged based off of your pair of shoes. So, but in any case, back to really pushing through those uncomfortable moments, it reminds me of the need to step outside of your comfort zone, really, for progress. And I think that when we really do begin to do that, and although we may feel vulnerable at times, that's where I have personally also have found the most amount of growth. Is when I've put myself in a situation where I might be open to criticism, I might be taking a bit of a risk, but I mean, just like the risk you took, how can we achieve things if we don't take risks? You know, sometimes they're calculated, sometimes they're not. But I want to know, in all this time, I read an article on your LinkedIn. Do you feel open to talk about your mentor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us about her and how she impacted and shaped your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my mentor is my mum. It sounds really, everybody's mentor. You need a business mentor. You need your business. I've got people in business that I speak to and things like that. But my real mentor is my mum, and it's not because I go to her for any advice or anything like that. It's just that I just look at her and I observe her all of the time. Like any son, really, I suppose, with their mother is this kind of closeness. And but what she is, she's an inspiration, and she's done some incredible things with her life when really she shouldn't have. She didn't have, on paper and a natural judgment, if you like. If somebody looks at her life 20, 30 years ago, and they would have just assumed that, she was destined for nothing, really. This kind of this ghostly life, and kind of you float through it, and you have your principles and values or whatever, but actually you've got nothing to show for it. You've got nothing, no sort of legacy, and that's the word really that I associate with my mum, is that she has this legacy, and that legacy is that she's had mental health issues throughout her life. She's had anorexia. She's had violent relationships. She's had quite a nasty custody battle, which meant this actually I wasn't actually raised by my mum, and that's fine. That's another story. But that must have been difficult for her, I assume. She's had a daughter who ended up in care, and I'm sure my sister would forgive me for mentioning that, live on a video. She's had some difficult things to deal with throughout her life. She wasn't particularly brought up with any sort of wealth or anything like that, and I'm not saying that makes a difference, but there wasn't much consistency in her own upbringing, and there wasn't much lessons. There weren't many lessons for her in terms of like how to be a good human, shall we say. And she's got every right, to sort of look back and squabble, really, and just go, well, be quite bitter and twisted, and but she's not. She's absolutely not. She 15 years, coming up 15 years ago, she emigrated to Australia. She's got an incredible little farm. Her dream was always to have animals. She's an animal lover, and she's had dogs and cats and that when she was in the UK. But when she went over there, all of a sudden, because obviously the property market's different, for what they could sell the house for here in the UK, over there they could buy a whole farm. So they bought this farm. It didn't cost them millions or anything like that, but this lovely little farm. And she got a couple of sheep, and she's got some chickens, and she's built this life. But the legacy part of things is she's an incredible human being, and she's an incredibly caring human, and she's there for everybody and anybody who kind of wants to sort of pour their heart. And she never judges anybody. She's very honest, and she's just super caring, like any mother, really. But she set up this group when she went to Australia. She couldn't actually work per se, because she has Parkinson's disease, or sort of the early stages of it. So she gets very fatigued very, very quickly. So she set this sewing group up. So she learned how to sew, and all of a sudden she became almost like a teacher. And she now has a group of around 30 women that come and see her every single week, and they all make these incredibly pieces of art, really, these quilts, which she then auctions for charity. And over the years, she's probably raised thousands upon thousands for charitable causes, just selling quilts, what she makes. So why is she my mentor? I think like she's my mentor because I look at her and I just go, I want a piece of that. I want to be known for being caring. I want to be known for looking after people and doing the right thing for people. And what I've done really is I've brought all of those sort of emotions and feelings and values into the business, so that it's given me, it's all right, me as a person doing it, but you're only in contact with so many people, aren't you? You only have so many friends and so many family members and things like that. All of a sudden, when you have a business, you can have thousands upon thousands. You can have employees, you can have customers, you can have suppliers, you can have all these people who you can build these relationships where I can express those feelings and values and emotions. And that's what's important to me. And that's why she's my mentor, is like, not because she does anything. I don't go to her and say, "Ma'am, tell me how to be caring." It's just the example. She sets the example for me, and I suppose I try and follow that and bolt onto the back of it and make her proud. And that's hopefully what I'm doing.
What I absolutely believe that you are. What do you think that is the single solitary biggest thing she has taught you?
Care. Just absolute, caring for human beings. What I say about how she's an animal lover. She's an animal lover because she cares so much about animals, in the same way that she does about humans. She's just this big bundle of like cotton wool who just cares for everybody. And she's like like anybody, I suppose, in this bracket. If we did sort of psychometric testing and stuff, I guarantee she'll be the one that kind of puts herself last, and she's the one that ends up with she needs a cuddle every now and then because she's that busy looking after everybody else. And so I think the solitary word would just be care. She cares for everybody, and I suppose that's what I'm trying to do is care for the people around me. I care for I get it wrong, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I have times where I don't get it right, but my single value, if you like, is just that I want to care for, I cared for you, because you came to me, and and I could look and go, well, how good's this going to be for business and things like that. It's not really about that. It's about like, well, he's been nice to me, he's been polite, and I like that, and I've got time for people who are like that. So that's why
Beautiful.
I say let's do it. Yeah, let's.
It's all about the positive energy, right?
That's right. Well, that's it. I think anybody around me will tell me I'm this big bundle of sort of positivity, and like my mum, really, I end up being the one that kind of at the end that needs a bit of a cuddle because I put myself last, kind of thing. And but that's fine. That's the way I quite like. I like life on the edge, and you said it before about getting out your comfort zone and things. Like, I'll live outside my comfort zone. I will do anything that makes me uncomfortable. I'll do it because, like, I feel like, I don't know, like I'm a bit weird. I'm a bit backwards, and if
you're not backwards, you're smart. That's where you understand where growth is done.
Well, this is I've got a business brain as well, I suppose, and like I'm not frightened of doing things that perhaps make me uncomfortable. I almost revel in it, and I give it a go. And I'm scared. I'm petrified half the time, and anxiety. I don't do myself many favors sometimes. Sitting up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, anxious because you're worried about something that you said you're going to do. Right. But at the end of the day, you do it, and then you get through it, and you've done it, and then you go, I did it, and then you want to do it again. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing with achieving those goals and the things that you set out to. It reinforces your ability to achieve them once you achieve them, and then therefore you can keep setting, you can keep going. But if you don't do, you don't achieve. So
if you never do it, then you've never done it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You never do it, you've never done it, and that's the thing. you know,
Like,
if
half
there's
the
one
job is
trust,
showing up.
this. Beg your
Yeah.
pardon?
I was saying half the job is just showing up.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, you know, by the end of the day, you've done it, haven't you?
Yeah. Um, that's wonderful, Simon. What would you say is the next steps for the hand dyed shoe company and Simon Bourne? I know you're moving into a new beautiful spot. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about that a bit?
Yeah, I'm really excited. So at the moment, the surroundings that you see around me here,
Mhm.
I moved in here in November, and I was saying like my business was a hobby,
Mhm.
and then in April of last year, it all of a sudden started to become much more than a hobby, and I was like, okay, this is like I need to get out the house here because. What was happening was I would meet any customer in a coffee shop or a hotel or a car park. Believe it or not, I met some customers in car parks. Getting try shoes on, and it wasn't ideal. It was a bit awkward and a bit like, oh well, this is this a business or is this like But God bless those people who trusted me and allowed me to kind of go with it, because it's facilitated this, and I started to feel like, okay, I need to get out of the house because remember I was still working full time, and then I would get in at 6-7 o'clock at night, and then I'd work till 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and that was pretty much the cycle of every day. And then my 2 days off from my job would just be spent obviously fully working on the business, and it was just getting too much. And I thought, right, I need some sort of escape. I need a room or somewhere where I can go. And I took this little place here, which is obviously in the background.
Mhm.
And it was perfect. All of a sudden, I had somewhere where if I had to meet somebody, I could say, okay, this is where I am. Come and meet me. And it meant that the time was obviously slimmer in terms of my export of time was much slimmer. And it also then became a retail environment. So it meant somewhere where people could come and try shoes on and see my collection. It also meant that I could sit and dye shoes, and I had somewhere to actually perform the art and continue creating those patinas. It meant that I've got somewhere where I can do my accounts and do all of that, boring stuff. I could come up with new strategies and sort of mood board and get flip charts out and things. It meant I had a home for the business. And I left my job in December of last year because it got to that next level, and I was about to leave. And then since sort of December till now, so which is what a 10-month period or something like that, the business has just continued to grow. It's got busier and busier. And around three months ago, I employed my first person to come into the business to help me with things, which was an incredible moment.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was incredible, and it's worked out really well. However, it's now meant that this space has become quite cramped, and we're very much kind of like working on top of each other, especially if there's a couple of customers come as well or a meeting. We've got boxes scattered around. I feel like I've lost a little bit of the charm which this place had initially, this excitement. And I've kind of just fallen out of love a little bit with it. So I started to look for new premises, but what I didn't want was I didn't want to move somewhere on, say, an industrial estate, or because an industrial estate is a bit soulless, and you don't want to really invite customers onto an industrial estate. There's no romance there. I also didn't want to go on a high street, because what's beautiful about the business is that you make an appointment and it's a destination business. It's somewhere where you can come and spend an hour or 2 hours choosing your shoes and designing and having fun. And you might have seen last week, I had a family come, and there was 2 children, and we sat and dyed some shoes together, and it was just lovely, And that's that. Again, remember what I said. It's all about relationships, experience, and friendship. And I feel like being on a high street, you're going to get lots of people through the door and lots of customers and lots of business and things like that. But I've lost that spark. I've lost that time and that romance where we can build this friendship. So I was really struggling to find somewhere. And then I was getting my hair cut one day, and there was a chap sitting next to me, and he said, I was telling him about my dilemma, and he said, hey, have you tried the Usher estate? And I went, what, the old derelict estate, like that's been closed for the last 10 years? And he went, no. He says, they've received some funding, and they're in the process of regenerating the building. They've just finished the gardens. They're starting to do weddings. They've put a coffee shop in, a nice little afternoon tea, English sort of experience. And they're starting to sort of let out these new spaces within this building. And and I drove up this sort of beautiful single track road through like a forest street, and then all of a sudden this building just appears in front, and I just went, this is it. This is where I need this business to be. Not just because of the now and the moment of like, you know, that I need some more space, but also there is room for growth within this building. Right. So if the first space that I take becomes cramped again, then there's 100 other spaces within this building where I can go, okay, let's move it into there. Let's grow with the building. And because it's got so much history and heritage, it is that destination, and I can give you, the customer, this experience that you're not going to get from any other shoe shop, quite frankly. So yeah, that's what it's about. And that is the next step, is getting in there and getting that off the ground, and, you know, getting some marketing done with that. I am having a new website built as well, which is really exciting. That's going to be built all around experience. You can design your own shoes on the website.
And will it be the same link, hand-dyed shoe?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Handdyedshooco.com. Yeah, okay. It'll be the same link. So yeah, when that time comes, it'll just transition naturally over from the current website to the new one. And the new website is going to be, you know, you can design your own shoes on this screen, or you can contact me and talk to me direct. Then the second part of it, so I split this business up into 3 stages, if you like. The buying experience, the waiting experience, and then obviously the delivery and the product. So the buying experience for me is this bit, is the coming here, it's the choice, it's all of that stuff. However, some people, like I said to you before, don't really want to talk to people, so they just want to use the internet and create and do things like that and check out. So I'm building a website that will enable you to either come and see me, come make an appointment with me or one of my stockists or collaborations, to go and have you fit in and have a personalized consultation. And there's no extra charge for that. Or you can just do it yourself on the screen, so you can create your own shoes and get to the checkout and order those shoes if that's what you want to do. So that's the buying experience, which is something that you really can't get anywhere else. Then there's the waiting experience, and this is the bit that I'm really excited about. So when we talk about next stages, imagine, right, you're in Canada now, okay? I'm in the UK, and I love your hat so much that I want to order one, okay? But that's a handmade hat, and that hat is going to take 6 weeks to make, all right? So I'm going to order that hat today, and I'm going to wait 6 weeks for it. On the day that that's dispatched, that hat, I'm going to get a message from, say, DHL or somewhere like the UPS, and they're going to say, this hat has been dispatched, and they're going to give me a little code, and this magic code is something that I can put into their website, and I can see exactly where in the world that hat is. So all of a sudden, it's left, forgive me, I'm not sure where it's, let's say Montreal. It's left Montreal. And all of a sudden, my butterflies are doing this inside my stomach, and I'm going, oh my God, this hat that I've waited 6 weeks for is on its way. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm buzzing. And all of a sudden, it's in Liège in Belgium. Oh, it's halfway here now. I'm really getting excited, you know? And it's landed in Birmingham, and all of a sudden, I know it's coming today. Well, I'm taking the day off work today because I'm so excited about this hat coming that I've waited 6 weeks for, and it's traveled all the way from Montreal. I'm taking the whole day off. And the knock on the door, and you got that gut feeling that you've got of like excitement and oh my God, it's here, this thing. And you get it and you unwrap it and you put it straight on and you straight out, and you know, you chip it, you know, that feeling. So what I want to do is I want to try and capture that magic of waiting and anticipation and build it into phase 2 of the business, which is the wait. All right. So the wait is maybe perhaps after week 1, you're going to get a notification or an email or a photograph or something of your shoes being created, a little dollop of like,
nice.
A little dollop of excitement, you know, so you get that, and then perhaps after 2 weeks you get another little dollop, and like all of a sudden this journey starts to evolve, and with every little dollop that you get, your butterflies are just like getting more and more intense, and you just can't wait for these shoes to arrive. So you now, when you get that box and that knock on that door, like your energy and your mind is just blown by this package that has arrived. And then you unwrap it and you put them on, and it's the best feeling you've ever had in your life, and you walk out that door and you feel like you can conquer the world because you've waited for these shoes, and you've got this amazing product that you've created and you've designed, and it's you and your personality on your feet. that's what I want to create. And that's much more than just selling a pair of shoes. That's like an emotional journey. And even you can tell by my passion and my energy that I'm talking about it. Like, it's like, that's what I want you to have, is this feeling that I have just talking about it, you know? So, so that's all the next steps. The next steps are very exciting. A big move, new website, a customer journey that I think will rival any customer journey in the world from any industry. And hopefully, you know, take the business on to the next level, change the way the world buys shoes, which is the big headline.
Ah, I see. I like that. And you know what? I think you hit the nail on the head. I can go buy a pair of shoes anywhere, but I cannot get a certain type of experience anywhere.
No.
I think that's what we crave the most, is a good experience, something that is memorable, something where if I give you a few $100s for a pair of shoes, I feel holistically fantastic giving you that money, you know?
That's a great phrase, holistically fantastic. I love that.
I'm
writing that
down. Now, we don't have much time left, Simon, but I want to just touch on something that resonates with me very much, and that's your desire to inspire.
Yeah.
And, you know, causes that are important to you. How do you wish to inspire people? What message do you have for the world?
Yeah. So I've been very open about sort of how this business has changed my life. And what I meant by before when I said like about identity and things like that is that, you know, I suffer with anxiety. And, you know, when I said I step out, you know, I live outside my comfort zone, I almost encourage it upon myself. However, you know, there's two different types of anxiety, I think. There's anxiety, which is those butterflies, and those excited bits of anxiety, which is what I get when I'm out of my comfort zone. But then there's this anxiety of, shit, I've ruined my family's life, and you know, who am I to say I can change the world, and I can change the way the world buys shoes? Like, and this is what I suffer with, which is sort of self-fulfilling. I can't say the word, self-fulfilling prophecy, where I just sort of punish myself for, you know, if I sit and get home tonight and I open that laptop and send one email, for the rest of the evening I'm punishing myself because I haven't gone and bathed my daughter, you know, and or put her to bed or read her a story. I've just been sat sending emails, and then I'm asking myself these questions of like, why have you done that? Why have you, you know, do you prefer to send emails to customers than spend time with your own daughter? And that kind of consumes itself into this ball of like, and it can go from nothing, you know. I mean, I can get a message from a competitor or somebody who's just wanting to have a little dig, or you know, have a little phone call or whatever, and it can consume me for days, you know, and it could mean nothing really. Whereas other people can just brush it off and just go, yeah, that's business, you know, you know. It doesn't, and I suppose this is why I value friendship so much and relationships so much, is because, you know, I am very honest and I'm very open with people, and I like people to be like that with me. And I can't really, I can't deal with people that don't have those values, that are very direct and they're not fluffy and they're not like, it's just, I don't connect with those people. There's no, you know, there's no, none of that. And so I struggle with it and I beat myself up about it. So how I want to inspire people is, you know, I want to be able to say to people, you know, in spite of the fact that I suffer with anxiety and I've had spats of depression and I stress quite easily, you know, it doesn't mean that I can't achieve anything. It doesn't mean I can't do anything. It doesn't mean actually that I can't achieve some of the most profound, ambitious statements known. You know, if I say I want to change the way the world buys shoes, that's quite a bold statement. It's quite a strong, you know, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Not everybody wants bespoke shoes. Not everybody wants to wait 6 weeks for a pair of shoes, you know, so how am I going to do that? You know, like, listen, like, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And like, that's just what I'm going to do. And that's it. And that my mission is not to change the way the world buys shoes for my ego. It's to change the way the world buys shoes so that I can show other people and say, look, you can do stuff. You can do the most incredible things, despite whatever it is that you suffer with, whatever it is that you've been through, whatever traumatic experience you've had, whatever, mental illness that you've suffered with, or as I like to call it, mental wealth rather than mental health. Because I say mental wealth because actually being low just means that you've got to get back up again. So therefore it's a good thing to get low, because if you get back up again, then you've proved that you can do it. So now you can go on and conquer the world. And that's my positive spin on it, is that yes, when I was that low, when I'd lost all of that money and I'd put my family in that much jeopardy, right, that all of a sudden I got some luck and I'm now a bit further up. And now, because I'm here, and now when I'm employing somebody, I've got some responsibility, I'm here. And now and that's the point, is that like, it's mental wealth. Anybody who's suffering right now and watching this video, like, this doesn't define you for the rest of your life. You have a whole lifetime in front of you to make this better. And trust me, like, when you do, like, you look back and you go, I'm pleased that happened. I'm pleased I suffered with it. I'm pleased I went through it. I'm pleased. Perhaps you wish it never happened. That's fine, but you're pleased that it happened, because you as a person will come out stronger, and you'll come out in a position to be able to do incredible things. And I say to my lovely apprentice, who's sitting opposite me now, I say to her all of the time, I don't care whether you work for the hand-dyed shoe company for 1 year or 10 years or 100 years, like, as long as you come out of it at the end of it,
right,
with some positivity in your life, and feeling like that you can go and conquer the world and do something incredible with your life. And that's my mother speaking in me, and that's the message I want. That's why she's my mentor, and that's why I want to put that message out there. So yeah, I envisage a company, so the hand-dyed shoe company, as it grows, I want to employ more people who have mental issues or mental health issues, mental wealth issues, so that I can provide them with a platform to be able to rebuild their lives and to put themselves in a position where they can say, actually, do you know what? Like, I can still do stuff, and I can still make things happen with my life, that because I've been through a divorce and I'm really depressed, and I've had such a horrific experience, and I've lost the custody of my children. And yes, that's all absolutely horrific, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but it's not the end of you. You're still life in front of you. You can still make this a good experience, and you can still get to that to those golden gates and say, do you know what, I did all right. And that's my message. That's my message, and that's what I want this to be. It's much more. I keep saying it, it's more than shoes. It's more than selling shoes and buying shoes and creating a business that one day I can just sell and walk away and live in a nice little yacht. That's not what it's about. It's about, like, let's create a community of people, of customers, suppliers, employees, everything, where we all do good things. And so
beautiful.
Change the way the world buys shoes, change the way the world looks at mental health, the way that there's so much more to it.
I mean, believing in yourself, as difficult as it may be, is really all that you just need, right, Simon? And I mean, it's tough to muster that up sometimes, and sometimes you need to look for the sources of motivation. But the little inner voice inside of you just has to keep going. You just have to keep persevering. Because if you stop, what's the end result? There's stagnation. There's no growth, right?
And I've been there. I've been in this hole of like life shit. Like, I hate my job. I hate my life. I hate my car. I hate my house. I don't know if my wife loves us. Like, all of this stuff. They just, I don't know. I don't even know if I should be here anymore. Like, I've been there. I've felt it. I know it. I get it. And my mission is, like I say, to prove to people that it's not the end. Like, it's not like just how you're feeling today is not the end. You have got so much more that you can do with your life, and like, you just need to find what it is. It might, it doesn't have to be shoes. It doesn't have to be working for me. It doesn't have to be anything to do with my business or anything like that. It's just the message and that collective message, and that's why mental wealth, as I like to call it, is hopefully going to become a much bigger spin-off from the business that I run.
That is beautiful. You are a phenomenal human being, Simon. Where can people learn more about you?
www.handdyed.co, and that is DYED. Nobody has died here. It's DYED. handideshoeco.com. That'll direct you to my website. You can contact me on there, and there's a bit about me on there as well, and sort of the journey that I've talked about. There is my LinkedIn profile, which you can find at linkedin.com/handideshoeco. You can connect with me on there. I will connect with anybody who wants to listen to me. So I'm very grateful for anybody who follows my journey on there. I'm very active on there, and I like to tell the story on there. There's also my Facebook page, Facebook.com/handideshoeco. Instagram, you can find me anywhere. I'm the most easily accessible man in the world. Just type my name in Google and you will find me. I'd just like to end by thanking you, Arash, for taking an interest. And hopefully this is something good for you and some good content. And
it absolutely is. It's really not. You're very welcome. It's not, just like you said, it's not about the shoe, and it's not about the show. Okay, it's really, for me, I also have a desire to inspire change. That is why I've built this show, is to take wonderful human beings like yourself who have expertise in different areas of the world, and to really talk about their story and their experience and put it out there for people to learn. So I actually want to thank you once again immensely for taking the time on your Monday morning to have a chat with me. This is not live. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that to you earlier. I will let you know when I'm distributing this. I'm going to be launching in October. Right now I'm just getting in the interviews.
Getting the content,
Yeah, exactly. But once again, Simon, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to put all of your links and everything in the description so people can have easy access.
Yeah.
And I bid you a fantastic day. Please keep an ear out for my consultation soon.
I will. Absolutely. God bless you, Arash. It's been a pleasure.
God bless you. The pleasure.
Let me know when it's live, and obviously I'll give it a share, and hopefully we can inspire a few people together.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much, Simon. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
And it's a wrap. Thank you very much to Simon Bourne for joining me. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is TOUSSI Talks. I'm your host, Arash TOUSSI, and until next time, have a fantastic week.